Croissant Noel, welcome back to the Fearless and Devotion podcast with me, Tim. Andy is also with us, as is Liam and Reese, the original Four Amigos, on what is, can you believe, our 200th episode. Before we dive into that, Andy's got his Wrexham as a game newsletter. He wants to hawk and tell you all about it because it is great and it's cheap and it's almost free. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can scan that little barcode there. If you are listening, go on YouTube and scan that little barcode there, please. That will do.
£15 introductory for your first year. It's 15 quid. So how much is that a week? Nothing. Less than a Freddo. Do you like us more than Freddos?
£15. That's all.
Wow.
Don't answer the Freddo thing because obviously Freddos are great. But it's 15 quid. It's about 5,000 words each week, and it's full to the brim of stuff. Also, we still have some of the fanzines, and if you want,
please take them.
I've got an order for you. Actually, I've got an order, so I need to signpost that person to you. So yes. Anyway,
AndrewGilpin@hotmail.com. Just send over your address and pay for postage on PayPal, and they are yours. You can have them for nothing, and they tell the story of our climb through the non-league.
The only condition Andy has for that is you have to send a photo of yourself as an attachment to the email as well.
Oh, if you want an extra copy, send nudes. Send nudes to Andy.
No.
Do it anyway. 200th episode. Before we dive into all the stuff, we've got a special guest as part of this episode, which is obviously the CEO of Wrexham Football Club, Michael Williamson, who kindly joined us along with Rob Faulkner at the recent live event at the Myers Gwyn last week, which is really successful and thoroughly enjoyable. So you'll have him to listen to from that night at the end of this pod. But let's get into things first and foremost. Andy, Liam, Reese, did you ever think we would make 200 episodes? Did you ever think we would ever get this far? Let's be honest.
No.
Why?
Well, because we're a ragtag bunch of losers and we're useless, and we're still useless with technology. So
got a trophy for it, though, didn't we?
Got a trophy for it somehow. Yeah. So
you look a bit like Marion and Jeff today. You've got the South Walian thing.
Yeah.
From your car.
I'm by Sloth Coffee in Swansea on Glanmore Road. If anyone knows it, cracking spots for everyone in the area.
I should also mention we are sponsored by the Fat Boar, not Sloth Coffee. Just for that, we are sponsored by the Fat Boar Group. I'm not going to reel them all off, but that includes the Myers Gwyn, which obviously kindly hosted our live events. Liam, 200 episodes. Do you think we were? I mean, we've been pretty close to killing each other when we got into the room together once in that entire time.
Yeah, that was the one that got filmed for the documentary, but never made the cut, wasn't it? That was quite fun actually. I didn't think my internet would last this long in the early days. If you remember, it was bloody awful. Now it's super speed, so life comes at you fast like a fine broadband.
It's now about a good time to mention that actually this is the 201st pod because you did a mini pod during the week. But that
was 99A.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, there was a 99B which disappeared into the ether that never actually went up. So technically, this is still bracketed. This is still very much formally the 200th episode.
Good. Well, thank you everyone for listening.
Yes.
Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about Wrexham.
Let's talk about it. We'll gloss into the Stevenage game if we absolutely have to, but a lot has happened between that game, that surprisingly horrible defeat in midweek, to Crawley. Andy, you were there. Give us an overview because of the two lads that we signed in midweek, Jay Rodriguez from Burnley and Sam Smith from Reading, for a princely sum of £2 and a bit million, by all accounts. Wow. Whoever thought we would ever be saying that 200 episodes ago? Absolute lunacy. Give us an idea of the game, because it was a bit of a tough watch. I'll be honest. On the box in Colombia, it was a tough watch.
Yeah, you know what? A win does gloss over a lot of things, doesn't it? Because a lot of us, I was with the London Reds watching it. And a lot of us were pretty annoyed how we played in the second half. I think, you take the lead early, and I do think we went back into our shells a little bit. I do think it was a lot of, let's keep hold of this lead, which is the proper percentage thing to do, right? Okay, you win your home games, and 9 times out of 10 we do that, and you pick up points away from home. So, you take the lead, you hold on to what you've got. I completely understand that, but I just think we were bringing pressure onto ourselves because we're knocking it about at the back. We're trying to take the sting out of the game. But then if Stevenage turn you over, they're on you. Oh, sorry, not Stevenage. Crawley turn you over. They're on you. And Crawley weren't a great side, but they were quite energetic. And once they got the ball, they were pushing us back. They were getting the throw-ins. We were barely sort of making out our own half. And the annoying thing is, like, when there wasn't much goal threat. They scored a wonder goal. Great. It was fantastic. Brilliant goal. But the thing is, it shows then that we can do it because 2 times after that, we broke them down. We quick, direct passing got us to Longman, got good crosses in. One, Fletch headed over, but could have done better maybe. And the second one, Elliot Lee did put it in. So it shows you we can do that and we can switch it back on if we need to. It's just frustrating when we go ahead. We really cling on to it rather than putting our foot on their throats. And it was a lot like Rotherham. Tim, you went to that game, don't you? You score early and then you do the best you can to keep them out when really and truly there's enough firepower there to go and get another couple and really demoralize them and put the game to bed. But look, this is what Parkinson's done all through his Wrexham career and away games, and it's worked, right? Yeah. We've been promoted twice. So what do we know? It's just, it's just frustrating. It is a frustrating watch. I don't know, Tim, how did you find the game?
Well, no, it wasn't. You sort of get such a fast start like that under a minute. I think, yes, finally we're going to pump somebody. Yeah, the new players that have come in have breathed new life, but he's proper shaking up that team. Obviously, Arthur's been dropped. Lewis Brunt's been brought back in. 2 new players start. So you've got to go, okay, yeah, that's the shaker that's needed. It's a bit of the wobble that was required. And then it just seemed to regress a bit. And yeah, it is frustrating. It is frustrating, especially that wonder goal goes and you think, oh, we should have killed them off earlier, but did we really do enough to kill them off? Not so sure, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, the thing that I found quite interesting, Sam Smith's interview after, and one of the sound bites with me was he said, "Oh, obviously it's tough to learn a new style of play." Which I was like, oh, what does he mean by that?
That's shorthand for what the hell have I just done?
Elaborate. But yeah, look, at the end of the day,
we won.
The result says 2-1, doesn't it? And we haven't had was it a foul in the build-up? Probably.
I was going to say that is payback for 15 years ago, I think it was, 2010, when we lost that game 3-2 in the last minute, and they got a dodgy penalty in the 93rd minute, and Tubbs got his hat-trick and scored a penalty, and I was there for that.
Remember that. We were 2-0 up in that game. We were not one, but 2 people took out Andy Morrell in the box, and we didn't get a penalty.
Yeah, so that was one of the most bitter I've ever been. And for those who don't remember,
furious.
For those who don't remember, that was when I think Crawley were flying, as were we at the time, and it was like 1v2, and we outplayed them for most of the game. I think it was Mangan scored the double, didn't he? And so that is payback. It was 100% a foul. You could. I thought he was going to blow it up, but yeah.
I think he got a little bit flat-footed in his position. His position.
Yes.
But that player did not complain. He didn't. They
didn't protest, did they?
No. Or anything like
that. No. Fair.
He has whinged about it. That lad, is it Conroy? His name.
But I always think
whinged about it on Twitter.
I expect to see opposition players. A bit like the Birmingham game when Rathbone nicked the ball off their player cleanly, I might add, but the whole team was up and protesting about it. So that's what I expect to see if it's a foul, not moaning about it afterwards on Twitter. It's just a bit.
No, I think as well. If you I watched it back and you can see the ref isn't looking at it, so the ref can't give anything.
No,
and so the liner obviously hasn't seen it either, so they have to just play on. And I say it's definitely a foul. There's much more clean cut ones. It's just I think if the ref sees that directly in front of him, he probably blows it up. And Lee has probably been quite smart and thought, what, I need to get in front of this guy, whatever the cost, and has done it. Yeah, great cross by Longman. Yeah.
Let's discuss because we want to keep it fairly tight because we know that the rest of the Williamson stuff is quite long, so we don't want to bore you too much with our voices. What we need to hear is, even though our voices are technically, the signings. I mean, the Sam Smith things seem to be on the cards in the sort of days leading up to Friday. Obviously, they were all in the building on Thursday night. The Rodriguez one came out of nowhere.
I've got a theory on that.
Okay, let's go to you first. What your thoughts were of both those signings and how you thought they fared.
Right, my theory is, remember Brian Flynn in the live night said,
this is a good theory because I put it out as well.
Yeah. I've just recommended 2 strikers to Wrexham, and if they sign them, they'll go up.
Yeah.
I wonder if one was Jay Rodriguez, because obviously Flynn's got a very big Burnley footprint, isn't he? And he's always there. And I was
not a fan of their style, though. Apparently,
sorry,
not a fan of their style of play, though. Apparently, from what you were saying, is it?
Yeah. Look,
I never thought I'd hear you say Brian Flynn's got a big footprint. That's irony.
So I think Rodriguez probably, you look at him, you think, well, it's Fletcher again, isn't it? Someone who can come on and maybe change a game. I don't think ideally you would play Smith and Rodriguez up front together. They're very similar. I thought Smith had a pretty good game yesterday. You could tell that he could hold the ball up, but also there's a bit more for him going the other way. He's a lot quicker than Ollie, and he gets himself around a bit. I think it's a smart signing. 26, he's in form. I think he's the 3rd top goal scorer in League One. We've had to break our transfer record for him, but we've been saying, well, look, I've been saying I want 2 strikers. I've got 2 strikers. We've said we might have to break our record to get the right one in. We've done it. So
this is my theory. Rob and Ryan and the executive team listen to what Andy Gilpin says, and that it's that simple.
Jesus, don't do that, lads.
Yeah.
Can we go begin?
It's interesting. People going on about the fee for Sam Smith, reported sort of 2 million, but a couple of things on that for me. Firstly, we're not paying 2 million up front in my eyes. It'll be something like 1 million to 1.5 plus add-ons on the basis, do we go up? Does he score X amount of goals? Also, if we're going to spend 2 million, I'm glad it's on a player who's sort of prime of his career type of age. For the last 4 seasons, he's got double figures in League One. So, and you look at the market feels a bit inflated as it is anyway. You look at some of the prices that are being paid for players at the moment. I can't remember the figure connected with Coney. Was it 7 million, the latest Luton bid? Something like that.
Mad,
so
isn't it?
The market's changed massively, especially since you say, Birmingham came in. Yeah, we're probably contributing to that a bit. But also, does anyone else just think it's not really our money to worry about either?
Definitely. Well, I think going off what we were discussing last week about, there were 2 ways to look at this transfer window and the rest of this season. One is that let's consolidate. We're in League One. And you know what? We'll wait till the summer before we actually do another sort of proper look at getting some new bodies in. And, if we don't go up, it's not a disaster. It's a bonus. And there was Andy's view, which is that we're 2nd or 3rd. Why not just go for it? We might not get a better chance at this. And it's obvious that the club sees it the same way. So, that's an interesting insight into their mentality now. They've gone for it, right?
You see the share Kieran Maguire put out. So someone bought a single share in Wrexham FC for nearly 3 million quid a couple of days ago.
That's it.
What?
I actually had a DM from someone whose username is 4NUR on Red Passion with a theory behind that. He's basically saying this is the last window that an owner could inject equity money into the club, and you can spend 100% of it on players and transfer fees. So next season, you can only spend 60% of the money you inject. So to get Sam Smith at 2 million, you put 2 million in now, or you'd have to put 3.33 million in the summer to make the same signing. So if you're wanting to make the most of your money, you go for it now.
You go for it before we go up, if we do go up. Yeah. Interesting.
Sunday's bought a share in a singular Sam Smith. That's what's happened right there, like a racehorse.
Does that mean you can go to their house for parties and stuff?
It's a bit mad, isn't it? I mean, even saying that we got a multi-million-pound player through the door, it's weird. But I think this is something we're going to have to get used to now going forward. It has to be. This is just like almost like a drop in the ocean without sounding arrogant about it. This is the first time we feel like we've properly flexed our financial muscles on the surface of it, looking in. So exciting times. Just a little bit more on the team stuff. obviously, I think we can all agree we're happy with those signings. Arthur Okonkwo dropped for Mark Howard.
Oh, I don't know. Is he dropped or is he still feeling that injury?
Yeah. It's weird, but it was never. I don't think it was ever clarified anywhere in any of the press conferences.
No, it wasn't. I did listen to a few afterwards. I couldn't see anything.
I hope he wasn't dropped because that is knee jerk. That is daft.
You know what? I think he's. If you look at the goals he conceded on Tuesday, it looks like his wrist was troubling him. So I think he's been taken out the firing line a little bit, and now you've got 2 weeks to recover and then coming back in. I don't think Howard did anything wrong, but you know what Arthur's like. If something's affecting him, it affects his whole game, and maybe that's why his kicking was so off on Tuesday.
A few people said his head had gone. Yeah,
I think that theory probably holds more water with the fact we've got Luke McNicholas back from his loan at Rochdale as well. That'll be extra cover for this Virtue Trophy games with Brad Foster in there, and all of a sudden we look a bit shorn. So that probably makes sense. Brunt back in, how good.
I love him. I think he's great.
Did he play the central role, do we think, in that back three?
No, I thought he was out on the left, but I do think.
No, I mean, could he play it though? Could he play it if?
Well, I think long term, he's got the ability to go forward and start attacks, and I think that's what Parky likes from his central thing. I just wonder if O'Connell and Scar are better organisers. And so that's why they long term, maybe Brunt goes in the middle. Whoa, yeah.
Swansea has just been turned upside down in an earthquake.
My theory is that O'Connell's now back to showing near his best because he shaved his head again. He's got rid of the locks.
I think there's something in that. I think there's something in that.
The merciless vibes all over again. He's smashing it. So a couple of little shaky moments, but overall he's really good. I think on the whole.
Can we call him Ming from now on?
Yeah, there's a put something out ages ago, and there's a screen grab. It looks exactly like Ming Merciless. First season he signed for us, but there we are. I digress. So all in all, we're happy with the win. We're not that asked about the performance. Is that us being a little bit wishy-washy?
We just needed to win before this 2-week break, didn't we? I think.
Yeah. But this is another good opportunity to bed those players in. Good 2 weeks on the training ground now, and it'll be very interesting to see.
For me, yesterday it was the balance of midfield that gave us the most problems. I just think that Dobson and James together, you do need a ball carrier, someone who does break the lines. That's why surprised Cannon wasn't even on the bench. Yeah, he can do that. Also, Lee can do that. Lee, if you've got two in there who can sit, Lee is the one who can get above and help the front two, and I think that's what they needed really. I think we were just. The front two were just a little bit isolated. Talking to a Burnley fan on the train home, he was coming up from Portsmouth, and he's got nothing but admiration for Jay Rodriguez. He says he's a fantastic player, fantastic person as well. Will get you goals at this level. He just needs a bit of match sharpness because that's what he's not really had. He's not really played a lot. Yeah, but he said the last game he played, he was man of the match for them.
Before we move, go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, did anyone see Lee's post-match comments? I don't know if it's just my perception, but his body language seems to have improved a great deal the last.
He probably knows he doesn't have to play up front anymore.
I mean, Well, he said this is what he said. He said we've brought in Sam, Jay, and Long, and it's 3 great additions. He said if it's more to come, then great because it helps the club. And basically, it says it motivates the other players in training because you've got to up your game now. So I think that's the right attitude for the players to have about the new signings. You see it as it's like, all right, well, if you're going to come in, then I'm going to up my game to keep my place. And
I just think obviously the first season of Mullins' injury, where Lee kind of carried the team with those goals from midfield, it has to be said. He kind of revelled in that. But if you were carrying that weight of responsibility on your shoulders in an unorthodox position for you, that's going to have an effect, isn't it? It's going to. You can see the shoulders are slumped. He wasn't happy, so I think he was just delighted to be back in there, seeing the reinforcements that comes in, and now knows there's absolutely, barring any absolute disasters, such wood, he ain't ever playing up front again. Not a chance. Not a chance. So we'll see what happens. Before we move on to other bits, just in terms of we've discussed incomings, and we'll come to you in a minute, Liam, about we're possibly expecting one more signing before Monday's 11 p.m. transfer window slam shut. potential outgoings. Like, there's a lot of discussion about Palmer, given the people we've just acquired, and then this kind of like the Mullin rumor circulated from nowhere. I mean, how much are we reading into that, and how much are we reading into both first and foremost? Reece, I'll start with you.
I don't know. I think the Mullin one, no. I just think that's just classic. Oh, we got 2 strikers coming in, so someone must be going. Palmer, I've got more of an inclination to believe because, as Andy said, with Rodriguez and Sam Smith coming in, they are the type of player that would really force Palmer out of the squad. I think that's more similar to him. So that's a possibility. But yeah, I've got no reason to believe that the Mullin one has any sort of veracity to it, although I could be wrong.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think Palmer, if they could get Palmer out, he'll go. The thing is, can they get Palmer out? Because they've given him a contract extension. He could just sit on his money. It's not probably the thing to do at the latter end of his career, but he could do it. Now, I always thought Palmer might go to the US. I think he
did say that, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did say that in the US talk show that he wouldn't mind going there. But I think the outside looking in and the person he portrays to be, or what we hear him to be, I think him being the focal point and end of the team would probably suit him rather than he's kind of almost plays second fiddle to Mullin, and then obviously he's done really well for us this season, but ultimately he's a striker that's paid to score goals. It's scored anywhere near enough, So I think him going elsewhere to be that sort of focal point again and to get some goals really back down south where his roots are. He's never really strayed from that. He's never really put down solid roots up here. So it all kind of makes sense if whatever package is put together makes sense of him. Otherwise, like you said, it's does he want to become that person where you're not going to get any game time, or you sit on your contract, or you get found out on loan? It's a strange one, but I think the Mullin thing surely has to be complete bullshit.
Also, look, Rodriguez and Smith are quite similar, and I do think that one of their natural partners would be a fully fit Mullin. You've got another 2 weeks for Mullin to work on his fitness, if that is the thing that's been bothering him this season. And it might be just what he needs to put a spring in his step as well. Yeah. So right, these two have come in. They're coming on big money. I need to show I'm still the main man here. So I think I do sort of look at them and how they play, and I think long term Mullin would be a good strike partner for either one of them. Gents, I'm really sorry. I actually have to go. I don't want to cut the chat short whatsoever. So continue, and thank you everyone for listening. But I have to go this second.
Thank you for coming in, Swansea. Thank you.
You're welcome. Dialing out.
Got to go and get his coffees. One outgoing we did have James Jones, obviously signed for Burn. Andy's not happy about that. Go on.
No, I'm not happy. I love James Jones. He sort of summed up everything that was good about the first sort of trench of signings. He was a good, committed player who always left it out there. Seemed a really nice fella from Welcome to Wrexham as well. I'm sorry to see him go, but we've lost a lot of people who we've had a great deal of respect for, like the likes of Sean Pearson went, Luke Young, Ben Tozer. He's just the next one, and it's just a shame because you can't take them all with you. But he needs to go out and play, and he's not getting into our midfield or anywhere near it at the moment.
Yeah, great player. Will be afforded a really good reception when he returns to Burton April the 5th. When we play them, I hope him and Bodvarsson don't come back to haunt us, because let's face it, Bodvarsson's scoring some goals at the moment. Liam, your thoughts on James Jones?
Yeah, the thing that's sort of nice in a way is that we've actually got a team and players that you get quite attached to, because I don't know about anyone else, there was a period during the National League years when A, players weren't around long enough for you to sort of, take to them and that sort of thing, and B, they weren't really that good. Whereas Jones, I think someone mentioned him in the bracket of sort of one of our best value signings in terms of money spent versus contribution. I can see that argument. Rob McElhenney also put something nice out, said, "I truly hate this part. James and his beautiful family are such a major part of our journey and we greatly miss." So it's clear that everyone at the club thinks a lot of him.
Yeah, 100% consummate professional. And
any more going out?
Oh, well, yeah.
Depends on incomings, doesn't it? I mean, the one name I keep hearing is Jason Carr from Wigan Athletic, their captain, central defender. Yeah, I don't think he's any relation of Humphrey.
He played well. He played really well at the racecourse.
We were supposedly in for him during the summer, so it seems like Parky quite likes to revisit his targets, doesn't he? And clearly thinks that there's something there. So that would be interesting. If that happened, you'd have to say, is Will Boyle heading out the door? Someone like that. Bolton, the likes of Bolton, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens there. I think as much as we want players to come in, I think you've got to make room in the squad as well if you do bring players in.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, makes sense. Right, that's the incomings and outcomings discussed. Randall Roundup, including COP development news and previews.
Yeah, I'm going to go just mainly in on the COP this week to make it quite short and sweet. So the club's released a teaser image, which I quite liked. I don't know about anyone else, but it had the sort of dragon motif. It's got a Ruaben red brick feel to it. I mean, obviously they're not still manufactured these days, but I think that's the sort of feel they're going for it. I mean, famously, Ibrox was manufactured using Ruaben red bricks. Looks nice from an aesthetic point of view, and I think the thought out there is that the planning application is going in this week, so we will see. That's just a bit of a taster. We will see the full fat new design. I'm quite excited for it.
Yeah, it should be good. As you'll hear in the upcoming interview, Michael Williamson, he alluded that there'll be more news start of February, so we're expecting that imminently. Really exciting stuff. Andy, what do you make of the little snippet?
I'm just trying to find it for you. Hang on.
Someone said it looks like there's bricks missing. I said, well, we've just signed Jay Rodriguez and Sam Smith, so you can't have it all, can you? You're not. There's going to be some bricks missing.
It reminds me of that pin art stuff. I mean, you used to put your face in, and it just
that a little bit. Yeah.
What do you think the material is? Do you think it's brick, or is there like some steel rendering on there? I can't read.
I think it will be. I don't think it will be brick, because I think, as Michael says in the upcoming chat, this COP is only a starting point. They're gonna build another onto it, so it's got to be pretty something that you can pretty easily.
That's true.
Yeah, another level on.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. I think it's in keeping with the it reminds me a bit of Trevelyan College,
that well-known architectural reference point.
But it's just got the same sort of brickwork. And I think it fits in with the town, and it's the first thing a lot of people are going to see when they get off the train. So it's got to look striking.
I hope people don't panic, because I think the initial designs were like, oh, there's this giant big sort of black COP, and it goes with sort of the mining history and this, that, and the other. I think that will be taken into account with the miners' wheel that's been touted. So if you want your ground to be red and white, don't you? It's the colours of most grounds, the home colours that they play in. So I don't think it will be disparaging in any way to the miners. I think that'll still be honoured significantly and properly, no doubt. That they'll be doing a lot of consultation with all the right parties about every aspect of this going forward. So should be good. Right.
That leads us quite nicely into Michael, to be honest.
Yeah, there are no predictions other than the fact we predict you're going to enjoy this chat. It was very I think it was very, very honest of them. I think, but we tried to shoehorn in as many questions as we possibly could from you guys. We asked you a few weeks ago to let us know anything that you wanted to put to him. We probably could have done a separate evening with Michael Williamson all day long, because this is his first proper sit down chat with fans since he's been at the club. So we tried to get in as much as we could. I think he answered them fairly straightforwardly. So yeah, Andy, did you enjoy it? We formally introduce it.
Yeah, I did. I thought you spoke very well on a range of subjects, and I think the feedback was good, and I think he enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
We do have Port Vale on Tuesday, so there is one prediction.
Yeah. Okay.
My prediction is Paul Mullin won't be there, and I do think we're going to play the reserves again. I wonder if Mullin might actually start if he's
for Wrexham or
injury. Sorry,
for Wrexham or Port Vale.
But look, Vale are still going for promotion. Promotion is our first priority as well. If Vale play a weakened side, and we do too, then our weakened side is much better than theirs, and I think we might proceed, go on. So I'd say a 2-1 victory for us there. Liam?
2-2 full time. We win on penalties. Simple.
Oh, right, that's it. For the 200th episode, we've got to keep it uber positive. So let's go clean sweep, seeing as Mr. Sit on the Fence is no longer with us and who would almost certainly have predicted a defeat. I'm going to go 2-0. 2-0. We need a clean sheet and we'll get one. I think we'll do it 2-0. Foul at the double. Happy days. So with that clean sheet of win predictions, let's without further ado introduce you to Michael Williamson. Enjoy it. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Leave a comment and we will see you all again next week. Take it easy.
See you guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Fearless in devotion, rising to promotion, to the ranks of mighty heroes, fighting foes in every land.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 5th ever Fearless in Devotion live night. Thanks, Joel, for coming. Hopefully everyone's feeling good after decent performance against Birmingham and a bit of signing news. We've got 4 fantastic guests for you tonight. Unfortunately, Barry Horn can't be here with us, but he sends his best wishes and apologies. We've got a bit of sad news as well tonight. Just before we started, we learned of the passing of former Wrexham goalkeeper Dave Gaskell, who sadly died at the age of 84. He played more than 100 times for Wrexham, won promotion in his first season with the club, and made his debut for Man United at the age of just 15. I don't know how many of you were lucky enough to meet Dave, but he was a really decent bloke and a one-off character to boot, so all our thoughts and best wishes are with his family and his friends. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get underway. There is food available at the back tonight. What time is it, Tim?
You've asked me like I should know this.
That's what I do. I throw you under the bus.
I don't know. Just open until it shuts, really. So just go down there on the left. I think we're going to do the first segment, and we're probably going to have a 10-15 minute breather. It'll still be open then, and it'll probably shut by after that. So yeah, but yeah, fill your boots. Food's lovely. Get it down you.
I'd set you up well for that one.
Lovely.
Also, a parish notice from Sir Richard Watkin. If everyone could remove their cars by 11:30 tomorrow, or they will be crushed.
What a horrible man.
Live streaming notice. We are having this professionally recorded for our 200th episode, so if everyone could keep stum, not record it. I don't know if Geraint's about anywhere, but I'm looking for him, because he usually is. And our next event is on April the 29th.
No, you're wrong. Completely wrong. April the 24th. So it's 2 days before the Charlton game, which I think is the last home game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think last one of the
You're
season.
just agreeing with me for the sake of it.
Literally, yeah.
So yeah, when you're charging your glasses again, the link is online now, so you get first refusal for your support, which obviously we appreciate massively. So the next event will be April. It's live. Grab your ticket. Thank you very much.
Just a few thanks to give out. Firstly, we'd like to thank Rich Watkin and everyone at the Fat Ball Group and all the staff here at the Mice Gwyn for having us tonight. They always make it a good night for us, so thank you for arranging.
Just a quick one. I've just been informed that bar is now closed while this is going on, but if you want to get a drink, go to the top bar. That is still open. Thank you.
Our appreciation also to our glamorous assistants, Simon and Sammy, for helping us out tonight, as always. To the sound guys for making us sound much more professional than we actually are.
Vastly more professional.
To Tim and Andy, I suppose, better thank them as well.
Why?
And to Reece, the fourth Beatle, who's never here. Was it fifth Beatle? Fifth Beatle. There we are.
And also, the Miners Project guys are here today, so do go and check out their stall. Do go and buy merch from them, because obviously for a great cause. Right, that's all my parish notices out the way. Shall we... I was going to say, should we get some guests up, but they're sat right here next to me. So, when Wrexham Supporters Trust sold the club to Rob and Ryan, most of us thanked them for their stewardship, but said, can we bring in some professionals? Well, I've looked on their LinkedIn, and it doesn't get much more professional than these two guys. My year at Summerfield pales in comparison. One started at DC United before spells at Inter Milan, where he helped shape the new San Siro. Don't know if anyone's heard of that stadium. And before that, becoming chief executive of Miami FC. In fact, one person on Twitter, because this guy's so professional, said, he seems a little bit overqualified to be discussing phosphates and piss with Wrexham Council.
I'm used to it.
The other guest...
Politicians are politicians are politicians. I don't care where you are.
In fairness, it's all our piss.
It's all about piss. At the end of the day, it's all the same.
10 minutes in and we've mentioned piss.
You never
goes
guessed
in
we won
one
an
side,
award.
goes out the other. I mean,
The other guest is a chief communications officer who's worked with UEFA, Inter Milan and the European Club Association. He's multilingual, but does he speak Welsh? We'll find out very soon as we welcome Michael Williamson and Rob Faulkner.
Thank you.
Right, I'm going to start with what we call a softball question in the business, but don't worry, it will get more interesting. So you've both lived in Milan. If you could have one thing in Wrexham to bring from Milan, what would that be and why?
well, first, thank you for having me here this evening. I want to apologize to everyone in the back. I know Humphrey is a lot taller than me, and so it's probably a lot easier for you to see him. I apologize, I'm short. I also want to apologize to Rob, because I basically told these guys, I said, hey, do you mind if Rob comes along? I just meant sitting in here, and somehow he's now on the firing squad with me. So again, I apologize. Apologize in advance to him for that. That was not intentional, or maybe it was. Yeah, so that is a softball question. I mean, the weather's about the same, so I wouldn't say that. I mean, if you ask me the question from Miami, I would say the sun, probably. But from Milan, I would probably the wine, really good wine, and pasta. Yeah, I'm not good traditional. My wife's from Milan, Italian. My daughter was born there, so it's I have to go with the culture of the food and wine there.
How about you, Rob?
Oh, maybe one of their strikers. I don't know.
Is that a hint?
Sorry, did I say that out loud? Wait, is this being recorded? Wait.
It's good that you do want to sign a striker, Michael.
I was going to say, Michael, I'm glad, and good evening, everyone. I'm glad that came from you with the transfer window still open. So you put yourself right in it there. But I think we had enough news out today to keep most of you happy, and maybe some questions coming later on that. But probably the coffee, I guess. Although that was one of the good things you installed, was a new coffee machine. But no, nice Italian coffee. But yeah, that's all.
Is there anything from Wrexham that could improve the cultural capital of the world?
That's not a softball question, Jesus Christ.
This should be a big list.
Silence.
Was that a real
Silence
question? Was that a real question?
Killed it.
We're
We were
working on it.
expecting Wrexham Lager, I don't know.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Two questions.
Here, the lager, Wrexham lager, by far better than anything you can get in Milan.
Right, okay, softball's over. Let's get right into the cop. Michael, you especially, great experience in helping shape the new San Siro. Why did we change the original plans? Was there something that you looked at and thought, maybe we could improve on that, or maybe we could do something a little bit different? What did you see that no one else did?
I wouldn't say that I saw something that no one else did. I think what happened was that no one 2 years ago, when we started this project, and Rob and Ryan and Sean and everyone else involved, looking at the redevelopment of the COP, no one knew we would be where we are today. Actually, maybe Rob did. I mean, he's kind of the one that just said no matter what, he knew where we were going to be. But I think, if you look back and say, okay, 2 years ago, we're going to be, sitting in League One, at the top of the table, not top of the table, but near the top of the table, and looking to try to get to championship. And the growth of the brand, the interest in the city, people would have probably looked at you and said, well, you're crazy. You only need 5,500 seats, and that's probably all we need from the COP is kind of just build the seats and that's it. But over time, we've realized that actually we need to be thinking about the future here. What does this club look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 30 years from now? Because the decisions that we make today are generational, right? And especially something as important as the COP. And we only get one chance to do this. It's the only area at the Kairos that we'll be able to build from scratch. Everything else that we're going to be doing in the other areas are going to be retrofitting the existing stands to some extent. But the COP is going to be built from scratch. So we need to make sure we get that right. But more importantly, we need to make sure it fits into an overall vision of what we're looking to try to achieve within the stadium. So that's when I came in, I said, let's make sure we do that. Let's make sure we future-proof. You'll hear this word a lot about future-proofing. So great, we have planning permission for 5,500 seats. Let's continue with that capacity, but make sure that whatever we build will grow as we continue to grow up the table.
Absolutely nailed my next question, which was currently looking at a 5,500-seater stand, which is the same capacity as the original stand. Is there a chance that could be expanded at a later date? Yes. And if so, what are we looking for? You've already said yes. Thank you.
Yes. No, but I'll get more specific. I mean, listen, we have planning permission for 5,500. There's no reason to kind of recreate that process. But working with the council and the Gateway Partnership and the university, we said, okay, using the same mass and volume, and that's why we brought in a design team like Populous. We did a tender process, and Populous I worked with at Inter, at DC, but they've done some amazing projects like the Sphere in Las Vegas, the Tottenham Stadium. I mean, it's just amazing what they've accomplished. And the fact that they said, oh yeah, you're building a stand in Wrexham, we want to be a part of that. But they bring that experience and knowledge to say, okay, within the mass and volume that you have planning approval for, what can we actually do? What is in the art of possible there, right? And so with that, we looked and said, okay, actually, within that same kind of structure and mass and volume, we can add another 2,000 seats in the future. So for us, we said, great, let's move forward to 5,500 capacity, but make sure that as we're building that stand for 5,500, that we put in all of the requirements, and trust me, there's a lot more structural engineering stuff that I have no clue what that means, but ultimately making sure we put in the steel in the right place to be able to say, okay, when we can, let's improve that and add 2,000 more to that if we can. Now, we have to go through another planning application for that. We'd have to go through the whole transportation process, have all the conversations with the council members again. So it's not we're assuming that we'll get approval for that, but it's a lot smarter and a lot more affordable to spend that extra money now to be able to be ready for it in the future than to say in the future, 3 years from now, 1 year from now, man, I really wish we had another 2,000 seats. So yeah, what we're really trying to do is say 5,500 as soon as possible, be ready. We're going to start the construction, essentially as soon as we can. We'll be putting out some planning information with the amendments that show very candidly what it looks like with 5,500. But if you look in the details that will be coming out in the beginning of February, you also see where the other 2,000 seats are going to be. And then ultimately, that's the goal. But that's only phase 1. Phase 2 and phase 3 is about how do we do the rest of it? And I think I'm probably answering your next question, right?
You have. Might as well go
I swear
home,
I didn't
to be
get
honest.
this, but
Yeah.
so I'll just stop there.
Remember when Dean Saunders used to interview himself?
Him and Glenn Little, yeah. So yeah, the retrofitting of the Wrexham Lager stand and so on and so forth, is it fair to say that involves maybe certain student flats that may have to go? Got a black mark against their name historically. So is that something that is going to be?
No, listen, the university is a great partner. I mean, they are our neighbors, right? If you want to talk about working with your neighbors, being a good neighbor, that's what we've done. They have a new vice chancellor now. Him and I meet regularly. It's kind of nice because we're both new, so it makes it a little bit easier because it's a fresh start and we're able to drink from the fire hose together, I guess is the best way to phrase it. But ultimately, the accommodation's there, the student accommodation's there. But what they've been good about is being a good partner, making sure that we have a pathway to acquire the land that is necessary to build the COP, and also to make sure that we're able to round out that if necessary in the future. Same with the Welsh government. We're having conversations with them to make sure that we have the ability to get on site, to be able to do the construction that's necessary within the land piece that they owned. But ultimately, we have the footprint that we have. the beauty about Populous, and I went up and visited the works that are being done at Fulham, because that is a very narrow, constrained area that they have built on. And I did that because I wanted to look at the logger stand, the macron stand, to kind of understand within those parameters in that tight footprint, how can you still maximize space, maximize capacity, and build something that creates a good experience. And so the beauty of Populous is they have a lot of experience in that. So yeah, no, the answer is we're not going to be tearing down any accommodations. However, we are going to be working within the footprint to try to maximize it. Now, I know Rob McElhaney at one point said something like 55,000 or something. I don't know.
Excited there, didn't he?
That was before I started, just to be very clear. So, no, but listen, I don't know what the ideal or the perfect scenario is. That's going to evolve as we evolve as a club. But if you ask me today, where do you think we need to be? My guess is somewhere in the next 10 to 15 years, probably between 28 and 32,000. Wow. But I think if we can get to 18,000 in the very medium term, that's where we need to start, right? And that's what I'm talking about the next 3 to 5 years. If we can kind of get to that number, that's a good start. Now, 28, 33, 32,000, that's when we're playing in that top league and
You said it.
Just saying. But there's still some time.
Yeah, bit of time. Moving away from the ground, what are the plans for the academy, and how much emphasis being placed on that?
Yeah, listen, the academy is so critical. It's such an important part for the future of our club. When we talk about future-proofing in the sense of the COP and the stadium, for the sustainability and the future growth of Wrexham and this club and this team, the academy is that future-proofing. Now, that doesn't happen in 1 or 2 or 3 years. We've been fortunate with some players like Max who've come through. The academy system, which wasn't really in a EFL licensed academy, but it was people who were trying to keep that alive. And it's amazing that you can see the talent that was here. Now, if you imagine if we were able to provide full-blown Cat 3, eventually Cat 2 type academy facilities here, the talent pool that we can have access to in this area will be incredible. But that's a 7, 10, 15-year vision again. My North Star for the academy is when we have 11, our starting 11 all came through our academy system. That would be the North Star for that, right? But that's not going to happen, but you have to start somewhere. So we started with the Darlin project. We are now a Cat 3 approval, although I think there's some people who jumped to early conclusions and said that we had not met qualifications for that, but I was waiting there, and a week later we were able to go out and say, actually, we did. So that was kind of a nice, refreshing way of being able to say, yes, we actually know what we're doing a little bit.
I think that was Rob Ryan Red who did that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to say, I wasn't going to actually call out the podcast, so I was saying, there's...
Wasn't us.
But yeah, so anyways, we got Category 3 status, which what that means, just so people understand, is essentially we now have the ability to have U9s all the way up through U19s. And that's an area that we've been investing a lot in over the last year. In August 2023, I think we had 10 employees in the academy, full-time and part-time. We have 61 full-time and part-time employees in the academy system now. We are providing services for 120 youth players and their families. And when I mean services, I've said this in the very first set meeting that I had with the staff when I came in, as I said, listen, for the academy, I want to make better footballers, of course, but I also want to make better people, right? I want to make better community members. And what that means is not every single one of those youth players that come through our system are going to make it for the professional level. Most won't. But if we can provide them with mental health support, nutrition support, educational support, safeguarding along the way, and give them confidence and life skills that opens up doors that go beyond football, then we're doing something very, very good. So when I look at the academy, that is probably the most exciting thing for me. But certainly, obviously, it would be, as I said, North Star, 11 starting 11, or 11 players from the academy system would be fantastic. You can dream, right?
Yeah, totally. Brian Friend nearly got there.
By the way, apparently, also, stealing Ryan's tractor is a problem. I don't know. So we did have a theft out, a professional theft out at the academy, and a tractor was stolen. I just can't believe that it made like national headlines that Ryan Reynolds.
I don't
Ryan
know
Reynolds had.
I do not know
It's just. I'm just saying. Ryan Reynolds' tractor stolen from Darlin. I'm like.
He'd probably find it Shrewsbury somewhere, to be honest. But there we are.
I told the doc crew we need like a CSI investigation episode, like track him down. That was the other one. That wasn't you guys. Anyway.
So you're spinning the plates of a new stand, new academy. We don't really expect much as Wrexham fans, but when do we expect to see firm plans for a training ground?
Bloody hell.
I told you we
I'm
get
building
started.
a cop. I got an academy going, and now he wants a training facility. Like, oh my.
I'm very demanding.
Worse than my wife. Sorry. Did I say that out loud? Anyway. No, listen, that's... It's funny because I had a conversation with Rob and Ryan back in June, and I basically said, listen, one, I need a lot of money. Not for me, but for the club. And I said, we need it because we need to invest in pretty much everywhere at the same time. The best way to make this sustainable, and this what I call lightning in a bottle sustainable, the momentum that we've had, it's great on the pitch, but how do we sustain that? Well, the best way to sustain it is we have to actually invest in all the other areas of the business to make sure that we support it long term. That includes an organizational side, and we'll talk about that side of staffing. It means investing in the COP, it means investing in the academy, but it also means training facilities. So when we're in championship, and we're trying to recruit, again, young, top talent to come play for us versus some of the others. I mean, at championship level, in League One, we even see it. It's really difficult, right? And some of the things that these athletes look at, these players look at, is what are the training facilities? So what we have going for us is obviously an incredible manager in Phil. The mentality he's created, the environment he's created, the whole Wrexham and what it's become, the city, everyone else, the community and how you support the players. That's helped us recruit the talent that we have. But to go to the next level and continue that process and to continue to develop the players the way we want to, we do need to invest in the training facilities. However, I did say I'm spinning a lot of plates. I don't want to spread ourselves so thin that all the plates come crashing down. So I want to get shovel in the ground on the COP first. And then once we have shovel in the ground on that, then I can start to focus as a second priority on the training facilities. But we need land. We need to build it for the men's team, the women's team. Fortunately for the academy, we kind of have that in place now and invested in that. But we need to shift our focus as soon as I get shovel in the ground for the COP. I'll start to look at that.
Sorry, these hits are still coming, to be honest. Right, I'm going to say 2 words to you. Actually, it might be 1 word. Is fan zone 1 word or 2 words?
1.
Does anyone know?
Cost you a tenner.
Right. I think we all understand the logic behind it, getting more money into the club, but it didn't quite go to plan. What do you think went wrong, and how would you sort of change that for the future?
Yeah, so the fan zone's interesting. I think that was one of my first 10 days, 15 days. They said, oh, hey, we can build a fan zone, and we can submit planning application for it. And me saying, oh, fan zone, that sounds interesting. I think, listen, sometimes change is bad until it's not. And sometimes change is bad, and you get things wrong, right? What I would say with this is I think where we made a mistake very, very early on is when we submitted the planning application, we called it fan zone. And that was just because that was the best way to describe it to the planners who have to approve these things of what the purpose of it was. But it's not a fan zone because it didn't support all the fans, right? The fan zone should be for everyone. This was only for people in the COP area. The second challenge, they said, oh, by the way, you can only have 1,500 people in there. which didn't quite make sense because they basically said you had to cut it in half, and then you have 3,000 people in the Cop, 1,500 in the fan zone, 1,500 in the other area. I'm like, well, why couldn't you just open everything up and it's the same amount of space? But again, didn't really understand much. Said, okay, fine. How do we make sure that we were able to control 1,500 people that go in there? Obviously, there's a lot of investment. We want to create a great experience. And, we decided to say, okay, well, let's add, a 10-pound surcharge on it. I think the people enjoyed it. I think a lot of people thought that once they got in there, the value was there. But it was also something I said, okay, I understand that this is something we'd like to open up to everyone. Started obviously having conversations with partners to see if they would be willing to support and fund kind of the underwriting of it. And then ultimately, obviously work to say, can we open it up to 3,000 people versus just the 1,500? And once we kind of got that approval and that sign off, then that's when we came out with the announcement. And it was right timing because I think it was funny though, because I think the only match that we weren't at basically a 99% capacity was the match that Ryan came to. And everyone just assumes that, he saw empty seats there, so that's what. No, actually, we had actually been planning on this and working on this for a little while. But it is just my luck that, the one match he comes to, there's a few hundred empty seats there. But listen, it is something that ultimately we listened to what people were saying. And we tried to change it as quickly as we were able to, and ultimately I think the result is a positive one now, hopefully.
I think Ryan was still fuming about his tractor, to be honest. He was absolutely epileptic. Right, I feel like I'm beating you a little bit, but honestly, it will get better.
It will.
There was a real concern about 3 lots of tickets going out for sale just after Christmas. Again, I can see an operational reason for it. I can also see that probably you're not selling out as quickly as you did earlier in the season. But I think probably there was a little breakdown in the communication, and I think a lot of people felt a little let down by the speed of the release just after Christmas. Do you sort of take that on board, and would you do that differently again?
Definitely, what we need to do differently is communication. And that's what I went back internally and said immediately as well. And obviously, Rob joining is part of that.
Brought me up.
Exactly, right? So, but before I answer it, because I think it's an important question, I do want to point out that what's happened so quickly on the pitch and with the brand in a 2-year period, we're still playing catch up on it, right? And when I came in, I think I had like 12 staff that were not kind of in the sporting side of things. And we have global partners. We went from having 2,000 fans a match to now 13,000 fans a match. And the expectations of what we should be providing are 100% right. We should be providing you the types of service and experiences and communication and responding to emails and doing all of that. I agree 100%. But we also need staff to do that, because the staff that have been there for the last 2 years went from doing 2 or 3 jobs, each, to now doing 7, 8, 9, 10 jobs, right? And we're just asking too much for them. So we have to hire people. We have to hire resources. Since I've started, we've hired, or in the process of hiring, over 22 people. This is not even the academy side. This is just within the organization, the club. 22 people. Now, the challenge is you have to interview them, you have to find them, then you make an offer, then they have a 3-month notice period. So, a lot of these people are joining now, January, February, March, right? So we're trying to catch up to be able to provide all this. So going back to the question, yes, we should have communicated that much better, much further in advance, and explained why we were looking at that. And part of it was we were trying to listen to people. There was a lot of concerns about having to do 23 matches and 23 away matches and doing each one individually, plus the women's matches. So there's concerns about like us, I don't know when it was announced, and then kind of having to go through that. Plus, we also heard concerns that 10,000 members going after 3,000 tickets all at the same time. So the thought process was, okay, if we do groups of 3, which is practice within other clubs, if we do groups of 3 or 4, that we could make 12,000 tickets available to 10,000 members. Right, and so that the process was a little bit easier. And we've actually heard some good feedback about that. However, timing, communication, that's where we dropped the ball on that. And again, raise a hand that's the issues that need to be fixed. As far as the functionality of it, I actually do think it works better. We saw that people were buying in the same way. We saw that tickets were less stressful in the sense of people trying to log on and click as quickly as possible to get tickets. But listen, it's a process. We're open to feedback still.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of form part of the next question. But you kind of alluded to it then that parts of the club have had to grow up quickly and communication is one of them. Is there a long-term plan for that side? Maybe Rob can come in on this one. Because I think previously his interactions with the club have been maybe a little bit slow, not as fluid as they should be. Although, we saw this week with James McLean with his car crash, the statement was very, very swift and to the point. It's like, this has happened, it's happened, and it would be remiss of us not to say that it didn't happen.
You cut that off straight away, by the way. Yeah. That was the right thing to do.
Well, go ahead. I mean, I think, but it's a good example of that's what we're trying to do. And I think in the past, there might have not been a message on that, right? And it's not that there wasn't an interest in doing it, it's just literally maybe the resources to be able to think about doing it. But I'll let Rob, because, I'm curious what your plan is.
Tell us your plan.
Another reason he brought me out. No, maybe just on the James McLean one, that is a good example, actually. It was a good example, it's not a great example, and typically it should be Jimmy, but it happens to. And then he turned up for training and trained as well immediately. I think Phil.
What did you think? What was your first thought when you heard?
Oh my God! Of all of the players, right? No, but it was a kind of mini case study, and it's about everyone thinks they can do communications, but when it happens to you, it's not so easy. But it was a great example of saying this is something that's happened in public. Actually, we'd heard via someone we were in a meeting, and I heard by someone who turned up at a meeting and said, I think I've just seen one of your players who's crashed his car, and then you think, okay, that's good. And with social media, I think that's going to be everywhere soon. We need to acknowledge that, get that out and react. And guys are here, and we turned it around quickly. And that's also the beauty of being at a relatively small organisation. You can make those decisions, and it's just common sense. And with a couple of phone calls and however long it was, we did it. In terms of
just to add that, we did want to make sure that it sounded like he was on the hospital bed, because we didn't want Birmingham to know what his actual status was.
Yeah, the sporting side got involved in that as well, so that was why.
When the car was actually posted out and some of the photos of the car, I'm like, okay, that's good, because they'll probably just assume that he won't be starting. So that worked out to him.
In terms of the wider scheme of things, again, on the kind of pure communications front, we have got a lot of things going on. Social media is so important to us. We strengthened the relatively small team that we've got, bringing back a former member. We've started to be a little bit more engaged on Instagram. Thing hopefully you've seen. If you've not, you should do. But we've got a WhatsApp channel as of today. Thank you. Because we're aware that a lot of the stuff that we've been posting probably on the website is, I wouldn't say mundane, but it's regular stuff that just, you need to know it, but it doesn't need to sit on the homepage, so we can just push that out. I'm thinking potentially in the future about ticketing dates, whether they're individual or grouped or whatever, but that's stuff you just want to know, but doesn't need to sit on the website. Going forward, without getting too complicated with it, we've got a lot of partners. A lot of what they want is access to us, to content, to Wrexham, to the club, to the community. We're looking at stuff with the membership, not just basing it on access to tickets, but access to personalised content, behind-the-scenes content. We're trying to wean some of the partners, and we've got a big gap between kind of multinational partners and local partners. We want to keep both of those groups, but feel there's a big space in between where national partners could come in and they want to be a part of the Wrexham story and the Wrexham community. They want other things as well, but it's not about, these days, about just putting a logo up. So maybe to conclude, I think the use of digital to produce more content, probably more video content, more stuff around the team, more behind the scenes, make that available depending on how we can, but digitally somehow, and using that for fans, but also for partners going forward.
Bringing it slightly closer to home to yesterday, And even walking in here earlier, at least 2 people told me that they had first-hand experience of this, but there was a few reports of Birmingham fans, the temporary cop end, scuffles with stewards, so on and so forth. What do you put that down to? Is that a direct result of rushing the sort of tickets out too quickly, or is there another underlying factor to that?
Yeah, no, I can jump in on that. So we, I heard about that as well. There was a small pocket of some Birmingham fans. My understanding is that was managed and dealt with very quickly by the stewards, which is good. It's interesting because I think there was the assumption that by putting tickets out on sale early, that then all these Birmingham fans bought into it. There's still tickets available in the COP. Over 14 days after they went on sale. So it wasn't as if they sold out in 24 hours and it was all bought up by, public sale by Birmingham fans. In fact, we do postal code checks on that, and there was a few that were pulled out prior to that. But at the end of the day, I mean, if there are a couple of stragglers that are able to somehow sneak in, you run that risk no matter what match it is. In this case, I'm just glad that the few that were there were quickly and swiftly dealt with by our stewards.
Moving on to a loyalty scheme, or top red points, as I like to call it. Are there any plans to bring one in?
Yeah, so this is a conversation that's come up a couple of times also with the advisory board. And I think there's 2 parts to the loyalty scheme. There's obviously a loyalty scheme as it relates to access to tickets at home, and then there's a loyalty scheme in relation to the away ticket allotment. I think as it relates to kind of a loyalty scheme within the home side of things, the challenge with that is that we have to go backwards before we go forwards. So when we talk about this COP and the 5,500 seat capacity, it's super exciting. Everyone's really thrilled about it, but we need to remember that next season, we could be playing in championship with 10,000 seats, right? Because the temporary COP would have to be removed in order to be able to build the new COP. So with that in mind, and not knowing exactly the layout of at the time of the new COP, that's something that I wanted to make sure before we put in a loyalty scheme that we kind of understood what that looked like. And that's still, honestly, it's still a work in progress in that sense. As far as the away ticket allotment, I agree the need is there when we play in venues where the allotment is smaller. Now, hopefully, if we're playing in championship next season, there's a lot more tickets available. And I think this season, actually, there's been a lot of tickets available as well, and it's been less of an issue. I think that the challenge in the past is when we've been playing in venues where maybe there's only a couple hundred tickets available to the away supporters, where that loyalty scheme is important. So that's something that if we find that that's still an issue, not talking about the Wrexham ticket tax, that I'll call it the ticket tax that's charged on our away fans. I think a lot of the clubs that we're playing are making quite a bit of premium off of our amazing away support, and it's frustrating. Unfortunately, it's not something we have control over, but it is something that I give such tremendous respect for our fans who pay for the coach, pay for the for the category 1 top tier kind of pricing that some of these clubs are putting on and still show up in 10, 11, 12 coaches to the away matches. So I give you guys a round of applause for that first. Honestly, something really, really amazing. But to the extent that we have trouble with the away ticket allotment, then yes, I think we need to continue to explore that loyalty scheme. So that's something we'll continue to have conversations with the advisory board on as we move forward.
Tell you what, there was a leaked fan loyalty scheme, and if it wasn't you guys who wrote that, you should employ that guy.
That's right.
Because it was absolutely top class. I want to move on a bit to, so Sean Harvey was the face of off-field Wrexham for quite a while. He's become a non-executive director of Wrexham this week. For the layman, what does that mean, and how do you guys work together?
Yeah, so Sean has been fantastic. He's obviously been here for the entire ride and continues to be supportive. But I think if you look back to the very beginning, he kind of said that he's here. He came in as an advisor. He's clearly fallen in love with the club and what everything that stands for. And he's still an integral part going forward, especially in helping with the COP and helping in other areas as a resource with me. But he also understood that, for him to be involved in the day-to-day operations of it was just not something that he is looking to do. And so, that's why as a kind of executive director role meant that he was actually more involved in the day-to-day operations. As a director on the board of directors, then that means I'm reporting into him and Ryan and Humphrey and Kayleen, who's just been joined the board, to share with them kind of, I hear their strategy, I hear their vision, here's how I recommend we achieve that. And then ultimately they're holding me accountable for that, right? And so Sean's one of those individuals that hold me accountable. But as far as a working relationship, he's been fantastic. And honestly, when I need a bulldog from time to time, he's my guy.
Thank God you let me into how to say Kayleen then, because I had no idea. Kayleen, yeah?
Kayleen, yeah.
Okay. What will the Allen family bring to Wrexham? What will she bring?
Am I just teeing you up for these questions? Or
secret meeting beforehand that I don't know about.
You think you have your sources.
That's very unnerving.
Absolutely done me there. The other thing is, can you see more equity being sold?
Wow, we went straight at it. Right?
You asked for that.
No, listen. I think what you've seen is with the Allen family, a minority investment group that has come in, a minority investor, I should say, that's come in with the same values, same vision, the same care about this community. And that's what the whole Red Dragon Ventures setup is. It's an investment into not just the football club, but into the city, into the community. That was important because basically in June when I said I need a lot of money to be able to arrive to where we want to go and build all these things, we said, okay, we do probably need to bring a minority investor in to help, right? But it needed to be the right one. And that process, there's a lot of people, I can tell you, in North America and around the world, there's a lot of people that would love to own a part of Wrexham right now, and Wrexham Football Club. It's amazing. But we don't want just anybody. It's just the same way when I'm hiring people. I don't want people who don't understand what this project is, what this city is, what this community is, and what this club is, right? And that is what Rob and Ryan believe in as well. And so when they were able to come and find a partnership with the Allen family, it was just something that made a lot of sense. So they've joined. That Red Dragon Ventures is a great thing, not just for the football club, but for the entire city. Listen, I guess if we're in Premier League, we might, I don't know. But no, ultimately, I think, Rob and Ryan are they're the majority investors. They are here to stay. That's all I can. I can't answer for them directly, but I do know that the three, they're here to stay.
Here to stay.
That I do know.
A few people have been saying it's a slow transfer window. We all want players for the door on like the 2nd or 3rd of January, whatever. Obviously, we've got a player in today. Do you have much of a say in the role of the transfers? And if so, is that something that you enjoy being a part of?
So this is a challenging question because I feel like this leads to another one if I say yes. But if I say no, I should.
He wasn't lying when he said he'd give me the tough ones. Not fair. I'm looking like the villain in this piece.
Such a bastard, Tim.
Thank you.
So Phil and I have a very good working relationship. We talk a lot. One of the things that I've worked with a lot of different managers at different levels. Roberto Mancini, still a good friend. Pioli. I've worked with Anthony Polis, who's Tony Polis' son. I've worked with Paul Daglish, Kenny Daglish's son. So I have a spectrum of different managers that I worked with. Phil is by far the most enjoyable and the best manager I've ever worked with. I'll be 100% honest with you.
Phil Parkinson is better than Roberto Mancini. You heard the man. You heard the man.
And I say that because he has an approach about how he develops and builds the dressing room that I've never seen. I mean, he is somebody who understands personalities, understands people, understands characters, and builds an environment and a mentality that is just, you've seen the results. And he's just generally somebody I enjoy being around and talking to. So we've established a great relationship. And part of that, I said to him, I will never force a player on you that you don't want. So don't think that'll ever happen. However, I will put parameters on what we can do, right? Whether it's budgetary, whether it's kind of looking at the profiles, the age, making sure that, you know, we know when we invest in a player, the reasoning for it. And that could be a reason of saying, hey, we need to invest in a player to help us get promoted, or we need to invest in a player because once we get promoted, we need to make sure that we have a squad that's been built along the way. So there's different things that go into that. So ultimately, you know, we go through that process. He has you know, some scouts on his team, analysts on his team. They develop a list of players that we look at. We discuss them, and then we have a committee. And that committee involves myself, Phil, Humphrey, Sean, and Les Reed. And really what the purpose of that group is when we're talking about the players and the options that we're looking at, it's almost that we are trying to stress test it, you know, poke holes in our thoughts and process and make sure that when we go after a player and we make offers to the agents or to other clubs, that it's kind of well thought out and not just one person's opinion, but ultimately everyone collectively saying, yes, this is the right approach as a business and as a club.
You'll be glad to know we're into the final hurdle now.
I mean,
clock watching over there.
I'm enjoying this. I don't know.
Yeah, it lasts for another hour. It's fine. We'll go back.
Lock the doors.
Also, I didn't hear two strikers there, Michael. I mean, did your microphone cut out for a little bit? Yeah, we are getting to the end game. We've got a few quick fire questions from fans, and I think quick fire is we'll just give us your yes or no, or maybe a little bit of an explanation. Right, first one is, can something be improved at the tech end for refreshments? The robot beer dispenser is great, but not to give them any credit, but the service at Shrewsbury has been fantastic. Is there?
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
I'm not sure about that.
It's the only good thing about Shrewsbury, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Maybe something temporary outside? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, listen, I think in this off-season we need to explore all of that. You know, the e-bars were a first step forward in trying to improve that process and that experience. This goes back to, you know, the areas to work within are pretty challenging. But it's something I've been pushing on my staff a lot in the clubs. How do we continue to, first impressions matter, and how do we continue to improve upon what we do? I think we've seen it on the food quality, on the hospitality side of things, but now we need to go into the general concessions. And the tech stand, Stoke stand, sorry, for our partners. Stoke stand and the lager stand, honestly, are the two biggest challenges right now, I think, and that's just purely the points of sale that are available. So during the off season, it is something that we're trying to work on and improve. That was not a quick, rapid answer. I don't.
It's good. It was under a minute. Pretty quick. In terms of the community aspect, there's been a few noses put out a joint about moving away from a perceived move away from a community feel in terms of allowing players to go to fans, groups, and so on and so forth. What's your take on that? Because I think there's an understanding to a certain point, because the professional athletes need to be looked after, everything else that goes with it, you know, get to bed at a certain time, eat at a certain time. Is there a shift away from that community thing, or is that something that can be looked at and spoken to with fans? I'm aware of the irony because you guys are here for this, but in terms of like, obviously, Malden District Reds, Worcester Reds, so many fans groups who do so much for the club and have done for a long time and have kept this club afloat.
Yeah, listen, this is very, very open and transparently. This is one of the biggest challenges that I'm trying to find the right balance on. Our success is based on being a community football organization. We have to be a community football club to be successful. The minute we aren't, they have to coexist. The minute we aren't, the story, the momentum, all of it starts to fall backwards. But the challenge is, as we grow, maintaining that community football organization mentality. And that's something that I'm trying to continue to find a balance. And obviously, player access is one of those areas that is probably the most visual of that, and trying to manage that. Now, don't get me started. If we arrive in Premier League, you have like Lambos and Bentleys driving down Crispin Lane and Mould Road, but let's deal with that later, right? But no, I mean the challenge that we have is as our profile has grown as a club, so have the demands on the players. So we have more matches that we're playing. We have more media requests and interviews that are being requested. We have more partners and sponsors that are looking for engagement with the players. And we have a fantastic community foundation and head of community in Jamie Edwards, who is just getting our players out into hospitals and communities and different programs and schools constantly. So players are being drawn upon from so many different places now, right? And one of the things that I'm really, really cognizant of is, these are, while they're players and professional athletes, they are also human beings, right? They have families. They have stress. It's not just a part-time job where they go to training and then they get to relax the rest of the day. There's a lot of demands on them. And so I need to make sure that we're protecting their mental health as well. So that goes to the next thing, is how do we continue to offer them access and fans access to the players? Some of the ideas that we've had is, instead of going out to different venues, one player and meeting with 30 or 40 people at different venues, maybe we do a couple of events, 3 or 4 events, large events a year, at different locations where we invite...
You're on our manor there, Michael.
What's that?
You're on our manor there, Michael.
No, but ultimately have 4 or 5 players at one event that people can come to, and maybe it's 5, 6, 7 supporters groups come together for that event, or 3 or 4 versus doing individual ones. I don't know if that's the answer. That's an idea, right? But my point is, let's have conversations. Let's have a discussion to find a solution, because the only way we're going to find a solution on this and best path forward is through compromise. And the first part of it is making sure we understand why we have these challenges, and the why is because of the demand that the players are facing now versus in the past.
Right, next question. Let's talk kits. Are we sticking with Macron next season, or moving to a bigger supplier? Bit of Free Stripes, bit of Adidas? Just ask him.
Stay tuned. No. No. Listen. I think what we're looking for when we look for a kit supplier is somebody who can help us with global distribution. Somebody who allows us to, for me, the kits represent the club more than anything else. They represent the badge, right? And so I like to tell stories through kits. So when I look at your home kit, I want the players, when they're wearing it at home, to understand that they're representing the fans at home, right? And for the fans to be proud of the players and the kit that they're wearing. For the away kits, I want people, when we're playing in England, to know that we're from Wales, right? I want them to know. So when we're wearing our away kit, I want to make sure that it's somehow in some way representing Welsh culture, Welsh heritage, Welsh language. Now, I don't know how you do that in a kit. We're working on that. But ultimately, that's the important part, is for us to wear that with pride and to make sure that people understand where we're from, right? And the third kits are just, sometimes fun and can be creative. So with that, I will say that if you look at the suppliers, I mean, yes, there's a lot of interest out there from a lot of different kit suppliers, as you can imagine. So we're looking to find the right one. I would say that working with Macron out of Bologna, I've worked with them also at Miami. I know them very well. I know what they're capable of. And I think, from what I'm looking to do is, how do we find the partner? And Macron is doing a lot. They're looking to grow very, very quickly. If you start to look at their business model, it's quite impressive. But ultimately, what I'm looking to do is, the partner that we are moving forward with, I want to make sure that people in the U.S., people in Australia, people in Norway are able to buy our kits, are able to go into a store and buy our kits. Right now, if you're in the U.S. and you want to buy a Wrexham kit, you have to go on our website, pay £60, which, by the way, you're paying in pounds, so it's not converted for you in US dollars. You pay £20 for shipping, and then it gets blocked by customs, right? Then you have to pay customs fees to have it released. That's a problem. And trust me, it's a problem for Rob McElhaney, who ordered a bunch of stuff and got blocked by customs.
Is it still in customs?
It was. And I can tell you, like, honestly, I haven't seen him so angry before. And I think it was my first month in, and he's
Michael
like...
received his WhatsApp messages on his first month. But by the way, at today's exchange rate, it's still good value, probably.
Oh, there
so
you go.
they should still buy.
By God, Trump.
Yeah. So how do you like that for not answering your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. It's beautifully skirted. Right, obviously you alluded to it then with the players. Obviously you have personal lives as well. We've kept you well long enough now. You've given it your time. We're super grateful for it. We're having an event soon. Please come back. So last question really, and we apologise to anybody whose question we may have not got to, wasn't for the want of trying. To each of you, are we going to go up this season, and why?
Yes. Wow. Do you want to start or you want me to start? I know my answer. So
Rob looks...
I'm ready.
I'll give him some time.
Without knowing what Michael's going to say, I'm going to go on this one. But no, I think that's an unfair question because you put a lot of pressure on the manager depending on what you say, right? Because he listens to these things, I'm sure.
What does your heart say? It's important.
I think we'll be in the mix at the end of the season, yes.
What? It's a good answer.
Michael's the one who has to sign off the players. So.
If I was sat there, I would have said the same thing.
No, it's interesting. So I think my first week that I was on the ground here, I was staying at the Ramada Inn over there, and I was having a beer at the Turf, and somebody asked me, what are your expectations? I think Humphrey had actually been on and was talking about consolidation in the League One, and somebody asked me kind of what my expectations are, and I said, for me, I think we should be in the playoffs. That's kind of my expectations, right? I think we need to give ourselves a chance because I believe that with the continuity that we have in the squad, combined with the momentum that we have and the confidence that we have and the fan support that we have at home, I said I give ourselves a good chance. If we can get to the playoffs, we have a good chance of getting up. Now, I think we're doing a little bit better than that even right now, but it's a long season still. And I like where we are right now because it kind of shows you that I think somebody asked me the other day what was one of my favorite matches here so far, and I think I go back and I was actually, for me it was the Wickham match, I think, and the reason being is because I think we won 3-0 if I remember correctly, right? First match of the season, first match in League One, but what I liked about it is I think people said, well, wait a minute, first match in League One, we won 3-0 at home. We actually belong here. But I don't think we just belong here. I think we belong at the next level, right? And so I just want to make sure that we give ourselves the opportunity to be there. Now, anything can happen in 90 minutes, but I want to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance to position it for, as you said, to be in the running there at the end.
That's a yes and highly likely. Let's say that. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm round of applause to Mr. Michael Williamson, Rob Faulkner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raise your voices to the anthem, marching like a mighty army, Wrexham.